think people will find the Mac runs awfully nice on that system. It's not a basis on which to judge future Macs, of course, but it gives you a sense of what our silicon team can do when they're not even trying.
Yo guys, Jonathan here. Huge week for Apple this week at WWDC. iOS 14, which I got a video coming on later this week, so turn on notifications so you don't miss that. macOS Big Sur, but by far, their biggest move was their announcement of the transition from Intel-based Macs over to their own Apple custom-powered Macs. So if you missed that video, linked up here down below. But for me, what was most exciting was the stuff they didn't talk about. So for starters, the entire macOS Big Sur demo at WWDC was done using custom Apple-powered Mac Minis. Inside these Mac Minis was an A12Z Bionic, the same exact chip found in the 2020 iPad Pro, so things are starting to make a lot more sense now. So what it looks like is these Mac Mini developer kits are essentially iPad Pro insides smacked into Mac Mini bodies. And with that A12Z Bionic, it's pretty close to the A12X that was found in the 2018 iPad Pro, the only real difference being one more GPU core being unlocked. For contrast on why this is so exciting, the 2020 iPad Pro, in terms of raw CPU power, essentially outperforms the fastest 2020 13-inch MacBook Pro. For good measure, let's toss in a 2016 15-inch MacBook Pro, and that makes it pretty clear how fast Apple is advancing in terms of their own chips. And then from there, in terms of graphics performance, looking at metal scores, that 2020 iPad Pro is essentially on par again with the fastest 13-inch MacBook Pro. And keep in mind, those 10th gen integrated graphics were a huge jump over the previous gen for Intel. Now yes, they technically are two different platforms, but if you remember at the keynote, Craig was using that A12Z powered Mac Mini to run Final Cut Pro 10. The playback was smooth, with titles, with effects. He even stated that this configuration of the A12Z could support up to 3 streams of 4K ProRes playback, which is exciting because in theory, the current iPad Pro can also handle that workload. So impressive, yes, but what didn't make sense is Craig was up on stage flexing absurd amounts of Pro Display XDRs, which are 1, 6K displays, and 2, Thunderbolt 3, and that right there is where things get super interesting. In a nutshell, Thunderbolt 3, that's an Intel thing. So in theory, with Apple ditching Intel, they're also ditching Thunderbolt 3. So how are they driving these displays exactly? Simple theory, looking at that Mac Mini developer kit, which still packs a USB 3 flavor in a USB-C form factor, is that they're downscaling to 5K, but that doesn't seem like a super Apple kind of move. What I think is happening is that Mac Mini used at WWDC is a custom Apple version that's not going to developers that packs USB 4. USB 4 essentially doubles the bandwidth of USB 3.2, taking that bandwidth up to 40 gigabits a second. Where the secret sauce is at though, is it keeps that USB-C form factor, but implements Thunderbolt 3 license-free, which is huge news for USB 4 equipped computers, period. So that's what makes most sense to me. With USB 4 slated to hit by the end of the year, that lines up perfectly with Apple's goal of trying to deliver the first Apple-powered Mac by the end of the year. What about that A12Z iPad Pro powered developer Mac Mini though? Craig actually confirmed that that's for development only. It's actually never shipping to customers.
Even that DTK developer transition kit hardware, which is running on an existing iPad chip that we don't intend to put in a Mac in the future. It's just there for this transition. I think people will find the Mac runs awfully nice on that system. It's not a basis on which to judge future Macs, of course, but it gives you a sense of what our silicon team can do when they're not even trying.
And that right there is exciting because if things ran that well, essentially off of an iPad Pro, keep in mind that was the Maya demo with Rosetta 2, not only Final Cut Pro, but Lightroom, Photoshop, and also gaming with Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I'll have a link to that full interview down below. It's long, but definitely worth checking out, and also puts to rest any ideas that Apple does not care about the Mac.
I want people to absolutely look at these silicon, Apple silicon-based Macs and judge us by our deeds. I just don't know. I don't even know what we need to do at this point to have people understand how much we are committed to making Macs and keeping them Macs, and we go to tremendous efforts actually to continue to keep that true. I mean, to find ways to advanced security in an environment that we believe, like the Mac, should be open to hobbyist experimentation and things. These are things we put, the fact that we have these different modes to explicitly turn off system integrity protection, right? Why did we do that? We didn't have to. Right. We did it because we want Mac users who want to do hobbyist things to have that kind of power. I mean, we continue to demonstrate over and over how we feel about this.
So specifically what that means is there'll be a reduced security mode that allows a user to disable the normal system integrity protection and run any version of Mac OS. They did confirm that there will be no support for boot camp or essentially just booting into x86 off Apple Silicon. Anything in that world will be virtualization based, and while they did only showcase Linux at the keynote, they are looking into options for Windows as well. Now, if we hang out with Marty and Doc and hop in the DeLorean and take a trip back to 2005, there are so many similarities with that keynote compared to today. With the move from PowerPC over to Intel, Apple also shipped a developer-based Mac for that transition as well. The eerily similar part with that is that was equipped with a Pentium 4 processor, which never shipped to customers.
It is a development platform only. This is not a product. This will never be shipped as a product. It's just for you guys to get started in development. And actually, you have to return them by the end of 2006 because we don't want them floating around out there. These are not products.
I think the only thing I'm really curious about right now after all this information is, will Apple just go solely Apple, or will they include and implement all the work that they've done with AMD as well, right? So imagine that A12Z scaled up 3, 4, 5, 6 times and then paired with an AMD GPU in an iMac. That sounds amazing. There is always a chance that Apple has something up their sleeve that's so far advanced we have no idea is coming. Either way, exciting times. Again, if you missed that video on why this move away from Intel is so huge, linked up here, down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Speaking of iPad Pro, if you missed it, dropped a video on some of my favorite accessories, and for your chance to win your own 2020 iPad Pro, check that video out, give it a watch, then leave a comment saying what your favorite product was. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you're excited as well, drop a like down below. This is Jonathan, and I will catch you guys later.